Hey, Walter Mosley. Hey, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We are talking to the acclaimed author, prolific author at this point. You've been at it, cranking out hit novels for decades now. But of course, best known for Devil in a Blue Dress and a bunch of other
Mhm.
ones I'd love to get to as we get going. But the reason we're talking, we should tell everybody, you're coming to the Frederick Speaker Series at the Weinberg Center here in downtown Frederick, April 30th. And I was saying before we hopped on, that's literally a couple blocks from where I'm sitting. We are Frederictonians, my wife and I. So I want to say ahead of time, welcome to our town.
Well, thank you very much. You can walk there if you want. You could just walk there. Yes.
We could just walk there, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have a 5-month-old daughter, and so she can't quite crawl there yet, but
No.
maybe she'll stroll her there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
I love it. Have you been to Frederick before? It's kind of an hour north of DC, hour west of Baltimore, sort of a triangle there.
Yeah. I don't think so, but I don't know. It's hard
Yeah,
to tell. You end up going to a lot of places in
yeah.
35 years.
Yeah, our claim to fame here is it's where the burial, actually a couple blocks behind the Weinberg, if you keep walking, is the hand that wrote the national anthem is actually buried there. Francis Scott
Wow.
Key is there. But Frederick's it's a cool spot, very cool spot. Hope you get a chance to walk around and see the restaurants and stuff while
Yeah.
you're
Me
in.
too. Yeah.
But anyway, about the Weinberg, is this like a nationwide speaking tour you're going on, or is it more of
Oh
a
no, no. I
one-off?
just, every once in a while somebody says, "Hey, would you like to come out and talk?" And I go, "Okay." It's like that.
Where are you based out of?
Well, I live in LA and New York,
Okay,
so you know
gotcha.
I'm
Doing the
in one of the other places most of the time.
bi-coastal back and forth, and then randomly Frederick and the Weinberg says, "Hey, we're doing this speaker series." They get pretty
Exactly.
big guests every year, by the
Yeah.
way. So I'm glad that you took them up on the offer. That's great.
Yeah. Sounds
So
great.
anyone listen to this? This is like literary genius you're about to hear.
Yeah.
So you don't miss a chance to come to this speaker series at the Weinberg. Paint a visual picture for us. I know well, some people are watching us and some are listening on podcast audio form. But if they buy a ticket and sit at the Weinberg and look up at the stage, what's it going to be like? Is it like you and a moderator on like director's chairs? Is it like a microphone in the audience?
I'm not sure if there's going to be a moderator. I mean, there's someone's going to introduce me, I know, and then,
Right.
then I'll talk. Sometimes, I'm on stage just talking with somebody, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be up there and talking about stuff.
Stuff.
Uh, yeah, stuff.
So it's definitely like is it like a prepared sort of like speech for
Yeah,
an hour
I
or
mean,
so?
I have a lot of friends who can like just get up there and start talking,
Yeah.
and they just and but I can talk, and it even sounds okay, but in the end, if you think, well, what did he say? It would be like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and so I have a talk that I have a few talks I like to give. This one's
Yeah.
gonna be about the literary life. I think it's
Ah,
just
okay. So more
yeah,
about the not the your work as an author. But you could
yeah,
go
yeah.
there are different routes you go. What are some of the other ones on any other given time of year?
Well, sometimes I get really kind of esoteric and talk about reading,
Nice.
which is such a kind of an interesting notion. And every once in a while I get a little political,
Yeah.
trying to, talk about, how you how one might make a better country for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we
there
need
are a
that.
lot of
We need
different
that
things.
about. We need that right about now.
Yeah, we
Maybe
always
you could
need
give
it.
us some advice. We always do, yeah. No matter when you pop in for a speaker series, we always can use the advice of our wise ones. Like I can't remember I know I've done some other. Oh, Chuck D of Public Enemy. I talked to him for this
Uh-huh.
exact series, Frederick Speaker
Uh-huh.
Series. I'm trying to think who else. I think they've had a ton of cool people. Robert Ballard, the guy that discovered the Titanic wreckage, like a submarine guy. So it runs the gamut. I think they've had like civil rights movement. I think maybe like Ruby Bridges, maybe. Anyway, look through the back the archives. It's a
Yeah,
pretty cool
sure.
group. Awesome. Well, all right. Well, do we want to tease? I mean, I have so much I want to ask about your career, but while we're
Well,
before
no,
we leave the show, do you want
I
to
don't want
tease
to
some of
tease
the
about that. I mean,
topics?
because
Yeah.
the evening is the evening, and I'm gonna talk about the literary life. It's
Yeah.
and through my own experience, which is
Yeah.
I think interesting enough, and it hits all those other points. There's some moments it's political, some moments it's funny, some moments it's kind of esoteric.
Yeah.
But and then of course at the end of that what I like the most to get to talk to the audience. Ask them, they can ask questions. We can talk about things that might have been brought up and stuff.
Oh, cool. So whoever's hosting it at the Weinberg will hopefully pass a microphone around, or maybe they'll take some
Yeah,
pictures
I
ahead
think
of
they'll do
time. I'm
that.
not
Yeah,
sure, but
yeah,
awesome. A little interactive. I love it. So there you go, folks. If any readers that have enjoyed your books over the years, or their adaptations on the screen, or maybe just up and coming authors, if you want to ask some advice, here you go.
yeah.
One of our living icons. Uh,
Absolutely.
you got to come to the Weinberg. Awesome. Well, whenever I have someone like esteemed like yourself, I always like to start by teasing the big event, but then if possible, I then try to take a bigger step back and kind of go somewhat chronologically, paint your origin story and all that stuff. So,
Hmm.
before we get to you dropping on this wonderful planet in LA in 52, even take it back before that, your parents. I know your dad was what, from Louisiana. This is like, Jim Crow South.
Actually, in 16.
In
Uh,
1916?
1916. Yeah, that's my dad was born in 16. My mother was born in 20. But and yeah, he's from New Iberia, which was the is the home of the McElhaney's, which is the Tabasco sauce.
Ah,
And
home of the Tabasco. All
yeah,
right.
and my mom's from the Bronx.
Bronx. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
and so your dad is black and your mom's Jewish. Is that right?
that's right.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And then did I read that like some of their early struggles, like before you were born? Did I see that they were? I mean, obviously your dad went and dealt with segregation in the South and even in World War II, right? In the army.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, it's like you go fight for equality, but then you come back here and you're not afforded the same rights that you were fighting for. It's
Well,
bananas.
even over there, like if you were a captured German officer, you had more rights than non-white soldiers,
It's
which
insane.
is yeah,
It's insane. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that tackled in movies like great, like Mudbound, etc. Like, you fight over the season, and you come back, and even the veterans are like, "Well, wait a minute, I have less rights here than what we're supposedly promoting."
yeah,
The whole why we fight was kind of hypocritical there for a little bit.
yeah, yeah. But it helped change America. So I
It did.
mean, in a way that after that, people said, "Oh well,
Yeah.
we're not doing that anymore."
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And your dad he was living history on that.
yeah.
But in terms of you arriving in the world right before that, didn't your parents like they got married, but were they denied a marriage license? Did I read that?
You know, for years and years and years, I thought that
Or is that
because
apocryphal? Because it's floating around on the interwebs.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's. I mean, I said it because
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was true, and my
Okay.
parents had told me that, but really, what it was my father was married before and hadn't been, the wife. It was very hard to get in touch with the ex-wife, and so, or
I got
she
you.
wasn't an ex-wife, the wife that is yet to be ex, and so it took him until I was 8 years old. So they got together.
Ah,
I was born in 52. They
yep.
married in 60,
Right.
but it was because he hadn't finalized the divorce and didn't want to go to
Ah,
prison
okay,
for
okay.
bigamy. Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure if it was like it was before it was Loving versus Virginia, that whole thing. But you're saying no, there was just an outstanding like he
Well,
hadn't got them divorced or annulled or anything
and
yet.
and people did have those problems then. It's just it
Yeah.
wasn't my parents.
But for a while you thought your personal
Yeah.
history was one thing, and then you learned that there was actually a
Yeah, which is
technicality.
a kind of a common thing,
Yeah,
I have a friend who's, he's a screenplay writer, and his father was a very,
yeah.
very, very involved in the screenplay writing scene. And my friend,
Will we know him? Will we know who it
uh,
is?
yeah,
Like,
so I'm not going to tell you his name, but
come on. All right.
but he, my friend, always thought that his father had been blacklisted.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have another friend who had actually been blacklisted.
Sure.
It's kind of well known for that.
Yeah.
And one day that friend took my other friend aside and said, "Listen, your father's a great man. He was a wonderful writer. He was really funny. He
Yeah.
was a great drinking partner, but he was never blacklisted." You know,
He
it's
just
just like,
thought he was. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and he said he
Does it
was.
rhyme with Shrumbo? Dalton, Schmalton, Trump? No, anyway. No. But it's a fascinating period, the whole McCarthyism and the,
Yeah,
testifying.
it's so interesting. People wanting to be. Yeah, I was in that. I was part of the problem. My parents were just trying to hide. They were
Yeah.
embarrassed that I was born, out of wedlock. But,
Ah. Well, you
but
were
I
also
mean,
born in 52. That's the year of High Noon, which is an allegory for all that, right? Black
you could be look,
McCarthyism.
you could be Remington Steele.
There you go.
I like that. So, well, I'm going to solve this crime. What movie does it tie itself to? Anyway,
Exactly.
yes,
No,
yeah.
that's basically that's the way my brain works. I don't know why. But anyway, fascinating period. Yeah, people writing under fronts, and you know what I mean, like
Oh yeah,
pseudonyms.
yeah. Woody Allen's whole thing, it was that. Yeah,
The front, yeah. What was
yeah.
that? Was
One of the
it
people I'm talking about
Zero
was
Moscow? Yeah.
involved in producing that film.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah,
That was Martin Ritt, right? Yeah.
yeah,
That,
yes. But the guy I'm talking about is Walter Bernstein.
oh, of
Yeah,
course,
right. Yeah,
legendary.
yeah. He died not that long ago. He was 102. But
Now you
yeah.
said you weren't going to tell me, so what? We just finally
Well,
got
I
the
know I
exclusive.
wasn't going to tell you the guy who lied and who his son was. But
Oh, okay. So
Walter,
that's
I can
not
tell you
in the
about
front.
that. Yeah, right.
But you do know Walter Bernstein, who wrote the front, which was like
Oh
the
yeah, and yeah, no, Walter. Yeah, listen, Walter was one of the greatest guys.
yeah.
He was I mean he was in World War II. Walter Bernstein. I don't know if you know this. At one point, he was writing for the newspaper, Stars and Stripes,
Yeah.
and what he did was he found somebody who could walk him across Yugoslavia, still a Nazi occupied, and he
Yeah.
walked to the other end of Yugoslavia at
Cool.
night, and Jewish guy,
Yeah.
and he found Tito, and he was the first Westerner to interview Tito.
Really?
Yeah,
See,
there's
I
a
love all the stories that come off of our tangents.
yeah. Oh no, he did two articles in the New Yorker about it. I mean, that's why you can look it up easily,
Yeah.
and he just talked about getting to Tito, interviewing
Yeah.
Tito, and then getting in trouble.
This is Walter we're still talking about.
Yeah, Walter
Yeah.
Bernstein. Yeah.
Because but it's so funny you mentioned him. It's not confirmed yet, but I may be interviewing his son.
Mm.
Not Jake. He's the journalist.
Which one?
Andrew is
Yeah,
directing
Andrew.
one of the, I think like one of the Jack Ryan, the Tom Clancy inspired
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
coming
That's
up. Yeah,
cool.
I'm pretty sure. I might be interviewing him later. I think it comes out later this month. Either way. So there's our Bernstein tie-in. There
Yeah.
you go. You knew his pops. That's awesome. All right. Well, all right. Tangent aside, folks, they came to learn about your career, but we'll probably do this a million more times. I love when I love when I get to geek out about someone on my same
Hmm.
wavelength of movie history. But okay, so you're born in '52 in LA. You spend your younger years more like South Central, and then by teen years you're what West LA.
Yeah. When I was
Um,
12, my parents moved over, yeah, to it's not called West LA anymore, but near Fairfax and Pico.
okay,
And and it and I lived there. Yeah, the rest of my time living in LA, back then
gotcha.
was then there.
And
Yeah.
then the question I have to ask then is what is little what is little Walter Mosley reading? What is getting bit by the bug at that age? I mean, is it the
Yeah,
classic?
that's interesting. I was a kid, so I was reading, kid things, science fiction
Yeah.
things, and a lot of science fiction, and for some reason, I was reading a lot of Hermann Hesse.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just remember the other day I read like 11 of his novels.
Really? As
Yeah.
what? As like a teenager, like early
Yeah,
20s?
like I was 16, 15,
Oh, yeah.
16, and I was reading all that stuff. It was the hippie times, Carlos Castaneda, all those people,
Yeah.
Richard Wright, of course, and those people too. It's funny reading and writing. For me, reading and writing is so interesting because reading is so incredibly important,
Oh yeah.
and it's so sophisticated, and it's so misunderstood
Yeah.
that a lot of people today think, well, we don't need books anymore. So, but yeah, you do because you can gather facts from other places,
Yeah.
but you only learn how to think from reading. This is really, I
Mm.
mean, you can be
To
taught.
synthesize the
Yeah,
information. Yeah.
well, and you look at it, you're reading these words one after another, and they become images and ideas and motion and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. And so reading is, I mean, you can't have a society without at least 10% of the people being very well read. Okay.
True. It's idiocracy otherwise. Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, like writing is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
I know because a lot of people, they say, well, in order to be a reader, you have to, read a writer, you have to read a lot. And you go, well, no, because you can be on any street corner listening to people tell you stories that will just, make you howl in laughter or
Right.
cry or
Right.
or question everything about your life. You
Yeah.
know, it's a completely they're two completely different things, but they meet in the same place, of course. The written word.
Absolutely. Very interrelated disciplines, but also their own separate beasts. And you think we need, as a country, we're getting away from the reading part of it, you think?
Country, I think, as the world.
As a society, yeah.
I mean,
As a
really, we're
species.
going to talk about all this crazy stuff that has nothing to do with
Yeah.
anything, it would seem. But
Yeah.
you know, but before 1914,
Mm-hmm.
human knowledge doubled every 100 years. So you have somewhere between three and six generations,
Mm.
depending on what generations they are. That happened before knowledge even doubles.
Ah, gotcha.
At the end of World War I, 1917, knowledge had doubled between 14 and 17. And it never slowed down since then. Right now, today, knowledge doubles every 10 months.
So
Then
it used to be a much longer period. You said every what? How long before?
100 years.
100 years, and now
Yeah.
we're getting it every couple years.
Because
Is
so
that
if it's 100,
technology? Is that
if it's a
technology or why?
it's a lot of things, but it used to be that if a young man or woman would grow up and tell parents, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to go out and make my life. And then they come back about 10, 12 years later
Yeah.
and say, yeah, mom, yeah, dad, you were right. And they
Right.
would fill in.
Yeah.
Now they go away and say that. And the parents go to them and say, son, you were right. The world had changed.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the new generation
Yeah.
gets the new world before the old generation has time to die.
That's true.
And a lot of it's technology, but it's everything.
Information hitting us all.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. I mean, technology is such a big thing. But and things change so fast that people say, well, I don't need to read, but you do need to read, because if you can't think, you can't do anything with all these new things that exist.
Right. Exactly. You got to be able to read more than just the however many characters on a tweet or an X or whatever the heck we're calling
Right.
it.
And it's interesting because it's magical. You start to read and you get to know a character. You get to understand a character. You get to feel something. And that book becomes yours. It's an amazingly magical thing, but it's very hard to convince people about it unless they already do it.
Well, and we can travel places, but while just in the comfort of our own home, we can leave, and it's almost like an out of body experience. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example. Project Hail Mary at the box office right now, was a best selling book. Like, I think there are still ones that break through, but maybe like not on the whole, like it used to be.
Well, I think a lot, but a lot, because people come to me and they say, no, people don't read like they used to. And I remember, every time somebody say that, I remember when I was a kid, no kids I knew read.
Yeah, comic books maybe, but
yeah.
yeah.
But even comic books. I mean, I'm very influenced by Marvel comics. I am, but even if you just read that, that's enough, because that'll get you, later on. Because whatever you read now, it's going to morph into something later on. But
right. You read the sports page a lot of, whatever people when they were younger. That now that doesn't really exist anymore. Rest in peace, Washington Post. But yeah. So wait, who was your guy? Were you an X-Men or back then?
Oh my God! Just when you mentioned the X-Men, I just think that when my parents and I were driving through Sacramento, in the later 60s.
Yeah.
And we stopped at a drugstore and there was X-Men #1 and I bought it.
I
remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And if you ever look at that, it's very, because I love Jack Kirby, but it's very sketchily drawn because he had to do it, like in a week.
Yeah.
So there were none of those great things like a cigarette butt on the floor or,
Nice. I love that you remember picking up the very, very first X-Men comic. That's awesome. But like you said, then that led to other reading, etc. And then you study political science at Johnson State College in Vermont, but it really was later is it true you did a writing course at City College in Harlem? Is that the big
I did. I did a writing course. I did I was in the graduate writing program at CCNY. And that was great. It was wonderful teachers. The only really famous one I had was Edna O'Brien, but Edna was wonderful. I just loved her. And
what was wonderful about her? Elaborate. What advice did she give you? Anything?
Well, Lynn, to begin with, Edna was, very Irish. So when we would bring in stories, in most classes, you would read your story out loud. In her class, she would read it. And with that Irish brogue, it was so wonderful. I mean, it was so great. And I had done one story or kind of some things happening together. It wasn't even a finished story. And Edna looked at it and she read it. And I said, well, so Edna, what do you think? And she looked at me and she goes, Walter, write a novel. And that was it. She was just.
You said write a novel based on your short story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I did in 6 weeks. later, I had written this novel, which later got published, called Gone Fishing, and she was wonderful.
Wait,
She
gone
really
gone
was.
fishing? Is that what it was you wrote?
Yeah, that was what I called it. Yeah,
Nice. No
it was
relation
nice.
to the Joe Pesci movie, right?
No relation to Joe Pesci. That
But
came
wait,
out
hang
after
on.
my book, though.
After. Wait, were you aware of her of her importance, like Country Girls and all that stuff, like when you took the class?
Well, yeah, because when you know you're going to have a teacher, you look them up,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we became very good friends,
Nice.
Edna and I, which was really like amazing to me because she was such an
Yeah.
extraordinary human being. She's one of the few writers in the 20th century that actually changed the course of a nation.
Mhm.
I mean, most people just write books and
Yeah.
pretend that they did that.
Yeah. She
Like
took the
me.
timeline and actually bent the art. All
Well,
right.
she wrote Country Girls, and at that time in Ireland, women didn't really have all that many rights.
Hmm.
Uh, they Women could never talk about things like sex or independence or any of that stuff, and her novel was filled with that. Everybody, including her mother, including every other writer
Yeah.
in Ireland, came down on her, like a ton of bricks. But the rest of the world said, "Oh my God,
They took
this is
notice. Yeah.
fantastic." And that opened a door in Ireland for
Yeah.
for literature, for women in literature. It's
Yeah.
just an amazing thing.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's 1960. So changing the world,
Mhm.
and then a couple decades pass. Then you're in her writing class, and she says, "Go
Yeah.
write a novel." And so you did. So that sparks it. And then is it all? So, but is it all? What is it? Also, Color Purple. Alice Walker. She came on the show like a year or so ago. Wasn't that
Well,
inspirational to you as well?
when I read The Color Purple, I the thing about that book was that it. I said, "Oh, this is a language that I could write in."
Hmm.
It's kind of like I read this. I knew these other languages that I could kind of translate and read and really love, it wasn't like the juice in me to write like that in that
Right.
way. Writing that I loved, and
Yeah.
but when I read Alice, I went, wow, I can understand writing like this, and that wasn't in no way competitive. I was
You mean like
I heard
the
good,
voice of how the
yeah,
language rolls
yeah.
off? Yeah, I got you.
When she starts, when people are talking, and she was so good at using dialect, for instance,
Right. Right.
I understood what people were saying, where somebody else might not know exactly what that meant, but they understood that. Yeah,
I got you. I got you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you grew up reading what Dickens or whatever, but then suddenly you have a different dialect starting to
yeah.
enter the books you
But
love.
even Mishner, or I
Yeah.
mean, like you read it and you say, "Wow, this is great." Or I'd read all these, great
Sure.
crime novels, but
Yeah.
I couldn't quite see me writing about that. I
Right.
was like, I'm over here, and Alice. I think that was the first. Well, I mean, I read, Richard Wright
Yeah.
and Chester Himes and Zora Neale Hurston.
Oh,
I, but that was a little earlier than me, and Alice is kind of, we're close in age, close enough anyway.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm actually really grateful they had us read Zora back in college at University of
Hmm.
Maryland. Yeah, Eyes Are Watching God and all a bunch of stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, great stuff. But so all right, so she inspires you, Edna does, and Alice Walker. So some female voices actually powerful in your. Now I don't know if you ever thought about it that way, but then suddenly you're in your 30s and you're deciding to start to write, and then you write the big breakthrough, of course, we mentioned earlier, Devil in a Blue Dress in
Hmm.
1990. So how old are you at that point? 28? Is that right? No,
No, no,
30, 38? What's my math?
yeah,
52.
38. Yeah,
52.
38.
38.
Yeah,
38.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
38. Yeah,
52 to
yeah,
90 is 38.
yeah.
All right. So then how do you come up with the idea of this hard-boiled detective Easy Rollins and
Well, writing for me is a really interesting thing. I just start writing. For instance, Gone Fishing was about the same characters, Easy and Mouse, but it was coming of age. They're, 16, 17, 18, maybe
it was
19.
when he was growing up. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Yeah, but growing up, black in the South is a completely different thing than growing up, like
Sure.
with parents and things,
Yeah.
And so they were off on their own. They're doing this crazy stuff,
Yeah.
and nobody wanted to publish it, because they'd say, well, white people don't read about black people, black women don't like black men, and black men don't read. So who's going to read your book?
Oh, wow.
Literally, that was the response. But
Dang.
but then I wrote, so then but that was okay. Then I started writing again. It was Easy and Mouse again. It was 10 years later. They're in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and well, Easy is, and Mouse comes along, and I I was halfway through the book before I realized it was going to be a mystery. You know,
Really?
yeah, I was halfway through it, and because I was just talking about the life of these characters, the place of these characters, this new place where everybody was going after World War II. It's 1948, you
Uh-huh.
know, and and it was just fun. And then I realized, oh, wow, this is a mystery. Oh, okay, and I kept
Right.
going in that direction.
And set in Watts, but this is 48, long before the Watts riots of 65. So like this is like
Yeah,
you're watching the city backdrop almost evolve along with these characters as well.
yeah, no, right, yeah,
And of course in 48, then we got to go in. If you can't tell, I'm a huge movie guy, so
yeah.
I always relate everything. But
Remington Steele. Oh no, go ahead.
yeah, exactly. I'm him, sir. But yeah, so I have to I want to a little ask about either some when you're I mean you're writing this in 1990, but when you're thinking back to write your own soon to be famous detective, Easy Rollins, are you thinking of Dashiell Hammett creating Sam Spade in Maltese
No,
Falcon? Or
yeah,
Raymond
yeah,
Chandler's
yeah.
Philip Marlowe in The Big Sleep. You know what I mean? This is the era you're setting it in.
Well, and but I wasn't. It's interesting. I had read all those guys.
Yeah.
Read Raymond Chandler, read Hammett. Ross McDonald was big impact on me. But then I read funny things. So Rex Stout, with Nero Wolfe and and that stuff. And it was just it was a lot of fun. And I was informed by that, but I wasn't thinking about it.
Okay.
I was informed by it, and I think that that's why I was writing that book. And so it's very possible, from an unconscious place, I'm saying, wow,
Yeah.
these detectives, this place. But I,
Okay.
I wasn't,
All right.
I loved the books, and certainly
You loved the
the
books. Okay.
films.
Were you into
I
the
mean,
film
listen,
noir? I
huh?
know you like, were you into the film noir, like the movie
Oh,
versions as well?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, really, and as I later started, working in television and in film,
Yeah.
some great things. Like, most books
Yeah.
have to really be transformed, right,
Yeah.
in order to be a movie,
Right.
because there's too many words, too big, too many
Right.
characters, too
Yeah.
many things happening. But the Maltese Falcon is almost word for word.
Yeah.
The movie is almost word for word the book.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He
Yeah.
had his secretary. He said, just write down every time somebody says something, and then write who said it.
Yeah.
And that was the basis for his script.
I love it. By the way, and I know this is so you're talking about the script. Visually, now I'm just going to geek out. Visually, it's
Yeah,
Houston's debut, John Huston,
yeah,
who would later
right.
play Noah
Yeah.
Cross in The Greatest Neo Noir Chinatown. But anyway, so the final shot, you remember Mary, I guess Bogart, Bogart has the famous line, "Stuff the dreams are made of," about
Yeah.
the bird statue.
Mhm.
Mary Astor goes and gets, the femme fatale. They shut the elevator on her face and she goes down. That's how the movie ends, right?
Mhm.
Well, when it shuts, not only do the little bars create, metaphorical jail bars, we see that a lot in noir, but there go back and check. There's like a little shadow on her eye that looks like a bird foot over her eye. So it's like her
Hmm.
obsession for this bird got
Oh,
her locked
really?
up, and it's all in one little
Yeah,
image. It's
yeah, that's
badass.
wow. That's great. Yeah.
Badass. But anyway, yeah. So and then, all right, but your 1948 is when yours is okay, and then I guess Graham Greene would go on to write Third Man a year after Easy Rollins 48. Yeah,
But
that's 49.
he wrote that because they had already hired him to do the movie, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I have to say, of course, James M. Cain. I believe he lived down near here, near where I went to College Park, Maryland, for a while, and he wrote, Double Indemnity and Mildred Pierce and all that stuff, right? Postman always rings twice. Like, I love that genre.
Well, and him, it's just so great. Kane, when they interviewed one guy was interviewing him, and he said, "Well, what do you think about what Hollywood has done to your books?" And
Yeah.
he said, "My books are right here on the shelf. Hollywood hadn't done anything to them."
Yeah, they don't touch it. It's
So,
another
yeah,
take on it, but
yeah, right, yeah.
I'm a Double Indemnity guy. Do you have a favorite
Yeah.
old noir?
Well, I honestly think it's God, when you go back,
So,
I mean, the thing is that the the Germans, you know, did some incredible films.
yeah.
The Gambler, Dr. Mabuse, or Dr. Mabuse, the
Yeah,
Gambler,
yeah, yeah.
you know, that one that Peter Lorre was in where he was dialed. It's M.
M
Maybe it's
M.
just called M.
It's
Yeah,
just M. Yeah, Fritz Lang.
yeah,
31. Yeah.
yeah.
And all you hear is him
And that was,
whistling and yeah.
and what's like who's the director? I've got is he did
Fritz
both
Lang.
movies,
Fritz Lang.
and
Yeah. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he was listen. His visions were
Mm.
extraordinary. I
'Cause
mean,
he did the
you know,
big
so I
heat as
like
well. He did the big heat as
he
well.
did. I
Fritz
didn't know
Lang.
that. I
Yeah,
didn't.
I think pretty
Yeah,
sure M
yeah,
and well, that's when M is when he's in Germany, and then he comes over and
yeah.
does the big heat in the 50s in Hollywood.
And
Yeah.
Mabuza, which is, I mean, really,
Yeah.
Dr. Mabuza is just astonishing. It was outlawed in Germany until the 50s.
Wow.
Like it was like him, you know, Goebbels outlawed it at first,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
but even after the war and much after the war,
Yeah.
Germany didn't move
Yeah.
in their culture,
Yeah.
and
Well,
like
that's how film
his
noir came about by the, you know what I mean? Like it was all the
yeah,
movie, like it was the French critics and all that, you
yeah,
know, Cahiers du Cinema discovering all these American movies
yeah,
that, you know, weren't allowed to watch during the
yeah.
occupation, right? So film noir. There you go. It's the French term. All right. Well, so wait, back to yours.
You see that?
Where
We're never going to be on whatever we're going to talk about, but
it's
that's
okay.
okay.
Hey,
You
I
just keep
love
on
it. I
going
love
now.
it. Ping ping. We
Yeah.
always bring it back. But Devil in a Blue Dress is how we got on that. Where does
Oh,
that
right.
where do you
1948. Yeah.
yeah, but where do you and then it comes you write it in 90, right? And it becomes the Denzel movie in 95. That's
Hmm.
probably a lot of our first, you know, my generation because I grew up in the 80s and 90s. That's our first introduction to you and then we go discover your stuff. But how I don't want to say how pleased you were with the movie. It's Denzel. I mean, come on. But how pleased were you when you saw that he was going to be the one to play this role? I mean, he had already won for Glory at that point. He'd already played Malcolm X. Like he's already a or no, yeah, he had just done Malcolm in '92 with Spike. Yeah, so
I really like Denzel, and I liked him then, and he's a great actor.
yeah.
He is a great actor. But I wanted Danny Glover to be the role.
Really? All right.
Well,
But
because
did he just say I'm getting too old for this?
no, he wanted to do it. We just couldn't get anybody
I'm
to
just quoting Lethal Weapon. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and that was, then after he did that, he could have done it, but
Yeah,
before,
yeah, yeah,
he was doing incredible jobs, but
yeah.
he's supporting actor kind of jobs,
I
like
got you.
in except in independent film,
Sure.
like Charles Johnson and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But but uh but he, because Denzel for me was the working class guy,
Mm,
you know,
no.
and Denzel is so beautiful, you know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of
Oh yeah,
it's
he was like a ladies' man at the time. Yeah, he was a hunk.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
still is. Still, when you talk about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, right.
they
Yeah,
go, "Oh, Denzel, did you see him?" I said, "He's old now."
yeah,
Who
yeah.
cares? But
They're thinking this is like Preacher's Wife era. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, he
but
also did Philadelphia. You know, he had range. You know, he
oh
had
no, he
range.
has a great range. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
he's one Malcolm X. I mean,
Now,
shit. I mean,
because Spike was like, there was moments I thought he was actually possessed by the spirit of Malcolm X and crazy.
well, at the end of that film,
Yeah,
they show there are different clips. Some with Denzel,
yeah,
some Malcolm,
yeah.
and
Can't tell
it's
the
hard to tell
difference.
the difference. You kind of go, what? Oh yeah, that one. Oh, that's Denzel right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah. All right, interesting. Good. That's a good tidbit. I mean, I'm sure that's not breaking news. I'm sure you've mentioned your Danny Glover and original dream casting before in other interviews,
mhm.
but at the very least, you know, Denzel, you know, even if it wasn't your first choice, a
Oh, and
legend.
Don Cheadle and Tom Sizemore,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
mean, and,
yeah,
Jennifer Beals. I mean,
yeah.
it was a cast. I
Great
mean,
stuff.
it was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How would you stack that character, either in the movie or the book? It's your character. That's your baby. Easy Rollins is your baby.
Hmm.
How would you stack him up against your other detectives? Who else do we have? Fearless Jones, Leonard
Fearless
McGill,
Jones, Leonard McGill,
Socrates
Joe
Fortlow,
Oliver,
Yeah,
uh,
King Oliver's, yeah, Joe
yeah,
Oliver.
yeah, Joe
Um,
King Oliver. Yeah, right.
which would be actually, let me phrase it this way, because you probably it's like naming your favorite kid, so you can't do it. Um, you
Exactly.
created all these people. What were each of their strengths or flaws? Like what type of crime would one be better at solving than the other? I don't know. If there's a way to play them off each other. Go.
I've never thought about that before. So
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not sure I could, because I mean, everybody has different like kind of talents. Like Joe Oliver was a policeman.
Yeah.
and he comes at thing from that kind of policeman attitude, even though he's been broken by that.
Yeah.
Leonid McGill is kind of a socialist slash anarchist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I have another one, Archibald Lawless, anarchist at large,
There you
who
go.
is a complete anarchist.
Mm.
Easy is he's the neighborhood guy. He's the guy who's gonna help you out, no
Yeah.
matter what. So rather than saying, it's where they tend to go. Uh,
Okay.
the kind of things, Leonard McGill was a criminal until he was like almost 50, and now he's trying to make up for that, realizing that it's impossible.
This is
He's
his
done such
penance.
terrible things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Fearless Jones, he's his heart is larger than most people's
Yeah.
brains. So
It,
that's another thing.
is there a little bit of you? I just thought of this. Is there a little bit of you in each of them? It has to be. Like, do you find pieces of yourself, or
Yeah.
if you combine all of them, that's Walter Mosley.
Well,
All
no,
your
not
characters,
that.
all
I
your
don't think that.
characters.
But it's probably true, but I wouldn't be able to prove it
On a
one way.
subconscious level, probably.
Yeah, right.
But remind me, who's the most prolific? Which one did you return to the most of the
Oh,
detective?
definitely Easy Rollins. I've done 17 books about Easy.
Oh gosh, I didn't realize it was 17. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Who would
Yeah.
be second place? How many?
Let's see. Leonid and Joe Oliver might be tied.
Okay.
Fearless Jones has started to make appearances in the Easy Rollins books.
Okay.
And I only wrote one, Archibald Lawless. And I have this new character, this new guy who's a judge in a small southern town somewhere. And that'll be the first one will be soon.
Oh, so that's a teaser of the next book. Okay. But we don't know. We're not allowed to tease the title, but you're talking about you can at
Well, I
least
don't know the title, so that's okay.
you at least teasing the character.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So you
Yeah.
said go into a little more. You said he's a Southern judge.
He's a judge in a medium-sized town,
Okay.
in the South. His name is Artemis Holloway.
Ah,
It's not so common to have judges. There are lots of lawyers, but and I'm just trying to work out how he can, end up, because it's Southern, so there's a lot of church in it, and
okay.
and 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 there's just all these awful things that happen in these families that they try to
Mm.
cover up and avoid and ignore, and
So
you know
as the judge, he kind of know and tied in with the church. It's sort of the institutional rod of this town. Is that kind of it?
he's going to become that. It just thought of like I could have the first title, Here Comes the Judge.
I feel like that might already be copywritten. Isn't
Well,
that a
no,
song?
but you can't copyright titles.
Oh, true. There you go. So there you go. So stay tuned for Here Comes the Judge. Working title. It'll be something else, I'm sure. Well, where are you in the process of that, by the way? Now, I mean, you brought it up. Sorry,
I just finished a short story
Okay.
about him and a conflict that he has with the big minister in the town.
Nice.
You
So
know.
do new now my brain's just firing, but do new characters spark for you? Does it get you excited in a different way? I mean, sure you still get excited to return to Easy Rollins and all your other ones we mentioned, but like inventing a new one, does that light up a different part of your brain, you think?
Well, there's always new something
Yeah.
in books, but I really, the thing is this: I write every day,
Yeah.
every day,
Hmm.
just about 3 hours,
Okay.
usually not more than that.
What's your
And
good? Is it in the morning or because I know
yeah,
Stephen
first thing in
King's
the
on
morning.
writing, and it's a certain desk has to be in a certain spot, blah blah blah. What's
None of that, but it
what's
just
your
has to be
process?
first thing
The
in the
morning?
morning. First thing in the morning is the only thing.
With
It
coffee
doesn't
or
matter where I am, and
yeah.
yeah, I drink coffee, so yeah.
Okay.
But
Dream state carried over into okay.
I just start then, and then after 3 hours I stop, and then that's that. But I do it every day.
Mm.
So if there's 365 days in a year, 360 of them I wrote in the morning for 3 hours.
So
And
the inspiration is in the morning because it's like
yeah,
the dream. You're fresh out of your mind's probably in somewhat dream mode. You're a little more imaginative, maybe. Is that why in the
well,
morning?
I think my mind is clear, and so then when you ask about characters, it's interesting because it's about characters, it's about language, it's about like that kind of musicality that some language can have or some
Hmm.
people can have.
Yeah.
It's about all kinds of things, that you that come up,
Hmm.
uh, and so it's like the whole thing. It's like the whole, operetta
Yeah.
then, rather than, okay, I really like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Leonid McGill. I do like him, but I like his son even more, Twill. And
Mm. It's
so
all the
yeah,
characters that come with it and the setting and everything that comes with it. It's all of a piece orchestrated in your mind.
right. That's all that the look at stuff. And then there's the language itself.
Yeah.
When somebody says something, you go, oh, that's right. That works. Okay, good. Okay.
Oh,
Or, when they say something, you go, no, 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 nobody talks like that,
yeah.
It's
You,
a it's more, it's about discovery, and it's really, and for that it's really fun.
yeah, I don't. Oh, this is fascinating to me, and I don't want to, I don't want to drill down too much into process. But real quick, so I was just thinking, do you jot down sort of notes during the day or voice memos or anything, and so that when you do, because you're not allowed to write except for those 3 hours in the morning with coffee. So are you like making little notes or post-its, like in the middle of the night, and knowing that you're going to sit down in the morning?
No, not like this. Everything is in that 3 hours.
Wow.
After that, it's other stuff. Now it might be that I'm, talking to a publisher, or I'm talking,
Yeah.
it might be that I'm doing something else. I'm reading a book. I'm doing little, silly
Sure.
drawings, whatever. But no, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to write down anything or remember anything or think anything, because I'm really so what's so interesting about the discipline of psychoanalysis.
Mm-hmm.
After World War One, again, we're back to World War One.
Yep.
All these people had all these hysterical, symptoms: hysterical blindness, numbness.
Mm.
They couldn't walk. They couldn't hear.
Yeah.
There was nothing
And the
wrong with it.
Spanish flu was right around the same time. So
Well,
yeah.
then there's the
And
Spanish
now we're
flu,
dealing with that again. Anyway, yeah, but
but the thing is that it worked back then. The
yeah.
talking cure worked.
Yeah.
Um, but now it's not so important to work. But the reason it worked is that psychoanalysis itself, what you do is you lie down, you free associate
Hmm.
for an hour, and then the next day you come back and do it again, and the next day again, and the next day again. Now, what happens between the first day and the second day is you free associate it, and all these things are going on in the back of your brain,
Ah,
and they're attaching to all these other things, all these other
mm,
experiences that you've had for all the many years of your life.
got you.
And when you sit down to write, there's new stuff there. You go, wow,
Ah.
there's new things. And so
But those connections are happening in the back of your mind throughout the day and you don't realize it. But then
right,
when you sit down, that's new material that your brain has already been making connections throughout the
exactly, because that moment of free
day.
associating
Yeah.
is there again. So, oh, I'm at the computer.
Ah.
Yeah. Oh, right, he was doing this. Oh, yeah. And it's a one. So it's more like
Nice.
that, rather than, consciously, okay, he should have a bushy mustache, or,
Yeah. I
it's a brown
gotcha.
suit.
I've never heard it broken down that way. That's great. It kind of dovetails in. I once had a mentor, a screenwriting professor, tell me you have to allow enough time for inspiration to become. Wait, for you have to now allow enough time for coincidence to become inspiration. So you can't be on 24/7 trying to think of it. You got to like go
Right.
live your life, and then stuff happens, and then
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but I like the way that I like the way you're. I'm imagining stuff connecting in the back of brains now. I like that. We'll get into the sci-fi stuff in a second, but
Hmm.
to close the book, pun not intended, on mystery. Um, when you're like plotting wise though, because you gotta take. I mean, I asked before she passed. I asked Mary Higgins Clark about this, and that's more whodunit type stuff. But like, are you like conscious? Like, what's your approach to like red herrings? And like, do you know how it? Do you always need to know how it ends first, and then you drop breadcrumbs back for because you're the god of the universe, right? You know what happened at the end mostly, and then you wait for Easy Rollins or whoever to figure out what you already know, or sometimes you're figuring it out as you go.
Oh, I never know. Yeah.
All right,
I'm writing. I figure if I don't know, then the audience doesn't know.
that's
Right.
true.
Yeah. And,
You
and
won't
so,
accidentally tip them off because you don't even know yourself.
that's, I mean, that becomes
Yeah.
the thing. I just don't know.
Ah.
And that's good for me. In Gray Dawn, I mean, the bad guy was so bad and was so powerful.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I said, "Well, God, how can he get out of this?
Yeah.
This is like if all of a sudden Elon Musk wanted to eradicate me. He could. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like how am I gonna deal
He
with him?
probably does want to.
Could be.
Yeah.
And so I just keep going. And I have faith that it's going to
I like
end
it.
well.
I
Or
like it. And
you know,
for the record, folks, this is the latest Grey Dawn. This was the latest Easy Rollins that came out
yeah,
what last September 2025, right? So
yeah,
yeah, that's the newest one. And then you'll
right.
obviously keep cranking them out, I'm sure.
I have another book coming out next month called Galen, A Romance in Black, but it's a romance. So like
Oh,
it's a completely different thing, But
nice.
um,
You're versatile. You can do romance, you can do mysteries, and of course we have to hit sci-fi.
mhm,
I know it's been referred to as Afrofuturist sci-fi in some
mhm.
articles in the trades. But folks, probably we first think of Devil in the Blue Dress when we think of mystery, but when we think of sci-fi, people remember Blue Light in '98 or Futureland in 2001 and The Wave in 2006, and of course that leads into the Crosstown to Oblivion novellas from like
Mhm.
2012 and 2013. So I noticed that a lot of these happened sort of right at the turn of the millennium, right? It was like late 90s into the
Huh.
2000s. So is there a reason? Because I don't know. Kubrick's
What?
wrote 2001, so now suddenly you're like, oh, we're in 2001. I better write
Yeah,
sci-fi.
yeah. That's really good. You could say that. No, but
No, we'll pretend.
I don't know. You know,
9/11, new millennium, Y2K. I don't know. What's percolating that makes
Yeah,
you?
I really don't. I've never thought about it, and it's a
You
lot
will
of
in the back
people.
of your mind after we get off here
Yeah,
throughout the
I have
day.
to I wake up tomorrow morning and I'll know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Just plant that seed. Let you start thinking about it.
Hmm.
If I had to guess, it's a new millennium, a new Prince. We were partying like it was '99, but then you're probably like, well, that's over now. What's next? And so I don't know. That's my theory. We're in
Yeah,
a new millennium, so your brain's like we're living in the future. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. There's something there.
Well, okay, I believe you.
Who knows? Hey, it's you. I can't say what's going on in your head.
Yeah, sure you can. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the great thing
fair enough
about
to be in
reading.
my head.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you've been generous with your time. I won't keep you too much longer, but I want to rattle off some of your accolades here. And so this is when
Hmm.
when I embarrass you. All right. So in '02, you actually win a Grammy for Best Album for the Richard Pryor comedy. And it's deep too, right?
Yeah,
Is that what it's called? Yeah. Okay. I assume you're a big Pryor fan back in the day, so that must have been
I
amazing.
love Richard Pryor. Still do. I mean,
Yeah.
he's one
Legend.
of the greats among comedians.
Absolutely. So I should say Grammy winning author. You don't get to say that very much. Well, I guess maybe nowadays with audiobooks, maybe winning Grammys. And
Oh
then
yeah, yeah.
let's see. So 2007, you win an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Literary Work with Blonde Faith. And then in '09, you win another one for The Long Fall. Memories of those two really quick.
Yeah, and I think I got two more after that.
Really? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
think I
yeah.
have
I just haven't
four
got. Oh
now.
yeah, the awkward black man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. How memories of that? Was there a ceremony for those,
Uh,
or they just send it in the mail?
there's. I mean, sometimes I went to the thing, because it's always in New York, isn't it? Isn't it always in New York that they have it?
I'm not sure.
But wherever I used to not be wherever they were,
Right.
or maybe it was in LA, but I
Yeah.
wasn't there. But I came to some of them. It was, they were fun, and it's nice to to win those awards, award because you have different communities, like you have the mystery community,
Yeah.
and they give you awards, and you say, well, you can pay attention to that, and then they have
Yeah.
the black community, and that's a wonderful place to belong and to
Sure.
work in,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and speaking of which, you became in 2020 the first black male author to earn the National Book Foundation Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters. So,
Yeah, that was
wow.
wild. I got that. It was really fun. I mean, that was really nice. I had a little talk. It was like during COVID, I think.
2020, yeah, probably right when it started. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was on Zoom, but that was fun. I mean,
Yeah.
awards are really, they're kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
There's at a while, I think I know they gave Doris Lessing the Nobel when she was in her 90s.
Yeah.
And they came up. She was bringing in her groceries one day, and some guy said, "Well, what do you think of that?" And basically she said, "Yeah, too late."
Yeah. I gotta go put away this bread.
Yeah, my Weetabix,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's so funny. I've interviewed literally over 1,000 episodes of
Hmm.
geniuses like yourself across all disciplines, and all of them, most all of them, are like, yeah, awards or whatever. But it's sort of an annual way of us to, like, at least I view it as, it doesn't really matter who wins or loses the Oscar or whatever, but it's a chance for us to all get together and celebrate and talk
Yeah.
about the art that we love. So
I know, and I agree. I mean, some things I really like. I got the Diamond Dagger Award
oh yeah,
over in England,
that's the
and
Crime Writers Association, right?
yeah, right. That the English crime writers, and so that
Yeah,
was great. I mean,
yeah.
I was so happy about that. You
English
know,
crime writers. That's
yeah,
Sherlock Holmes land, baby.
yeah, I know it.
And you won it.
Yeah,
Diamond daggers are forever. So that was in 2023. That's sort of like a life achievement kind of thing, right? But
yeah,
what was the
yeah.
other? Oh, the Edgar Award you won for Down the River Under the Sea.
Down
You've won
river,
basically
under the
everything.
sea, and a grandmaster.
Yeah.
I was shocked to get the grandmaster thing.
Yeah.
That was really a surprise.
Man,
You know,
everything. But probably this is how we'll bring it full circle to our long, chronological journey through your life. You
yeah,
probably one of the most rewarding was getting the honorary doctorate at City College in Harlem, because that's where you started with the.
yeah, that was nice. And yeah, with Bill Clinton, he
Oh,
was
he was there? All right.
yeah, he was like the major honorary doctorate, and he gave a talk. That was fun. That was actually really nice. I mean, I love City College. One of the things, every time I write these books, how to books. Sometimes I wrote a book this year. You write your novel, and then I wrote another writing book after that. And the thing that I kept thinking about was, well, I went to City College. It costs $1,000 a year to go to City College. I could actually study with great writers and get a degree and not go into debt for the next 40
Like
years.
my generation, we're never going to pay this stuff off. It's just interest upon interest.
It's just it's so
Ridiculous.
crazy, I mean,
It's ridiculous.
and so I'm always I'm always arguing about universities and how they treat
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and language even, because
Yeah.
it's language is in the streets, language is in the prisons, language is on the playground. I mean, that's where language is,
Yeah.
and 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 so many, I mean, writers nowadays, almost everybody went to college, and it's fine,
Yeah.
but it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know?
No. It's
Yeah,
it's a whole different ballgame.
yeah,
Or the degrees that you come out with. The amount of tuition should be proportionate to the amount you can make in a starting job with that degree.
you're
That
right.
would be nice.
And they turn to you and they say,
Yeah.
well, John Grisham
Yeah.
gets a lot of
Yeah.
money. And say, yeah, but there's only one of
Yeah.
him to
Not everybody's
20,000.
John
Yeah,
Grisham.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
You
not
know,
everyone's Walter Mosley either. I really could talk to you for hours and hours, but we got to leave something for the Weinberg. So, I can't answer all the questions here.
yeah, exactly.
Come see Walter Mosley, the big finish, the big sell it. Everyone come out to see Walter Mosley at Frederick Speaker Series at the Weinberg Center on April 30th. We didn't even have time to get to all, but bring all your TV stuff, but bring your questions about FX's
Yeah,
Snowfall and Last Days of Potomac Gray on Apple, and Man in My Basement's going to be on Hulu, and
that's right.
Star Trek Discovery. Like, bring all your questions, folks. Bring all your questions. This has
All right.
been so much fun. I've really appreciated it.
Well, thank you. I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot.
All right. See you in
Bye.
Frederick.